Imagine writing a letter in 1840. There is no email, no instant messaging, no video call. Your words must travel physically, carried by horse, railway, ship, and human hands. But there is another problem. Sending that letter may be expensive, confusing, and unpredictable. The price can depend on how far it travels, how many sheets of paper it contains, and whether the recipient is willing or even able to pay. Then one tiny piece of paper changes everything. It is smaller than many modern postage stamps. It carries the portrait of an 18-year-old Queen Victoria. It has no perforations, no country name, and no modern security technology. Its original price is just 1 penny. Yet this unassuming black stamp helps launch a communications revolution. It changes who pays for a letter, simplifies the cost of sending mail, and inspires postal systems around the world. More than 180 years later, it remains one of the most recognizable objects in philately. But is every penny black incredibly rare? Why do two examples of the same stamp sometimes have dramatically different values? What do the mysterious letters in its corners mean? And why was the world's first postage stamp replaced after less than a year? This is the penny black, the world's first adhesive postage stamp used in a public postal system. Today we are going deep into its history, design, production, identification, preservation, and lasting importance. This is Get to Know the Penny Black. To understand why the penny black was revolutionary, we first need to understand the postal system that existed before it. In early 19th century Britain, sending a letter was not always simple or affordable. Postage could be calculated according to distance and the number of sheets being sent. In many cases, it was the recipient, not the sender, who was expected to pay. That created several problems. Charges could be difficult to understand. Long-distance letters could be expensive. Recipients sometimes refused delivery because they could not afford the fee. The system also required postal workers to calculate and collect many different charges. It was complicated for customers and inefficient for the post office. Reformers believed communication should be easier and less expensive. One of the most influential was the British educator and reformer Sir Rowland Hill. In 1837, Hill published a proposal titled Post Office Reform: Its Importance and Practicability. He argued that postage should be inexpensive, standardized, and paid in advance. Instead of charging primarily according to distance, Hill proposed a uniform rate for letters within a defined weight limit. He also described ways to prove that the postage had already been paid. One solution was stamped stationery. Another was a small adhesive label that could be attached to a letter. That small label became the penny black. Hill did not act alone. Postal reform required political support, administrative work, design expertise, printers, and the participation of the public. A uniform penny postal rate was introduced in Britain in January 1840. The adhesive stamp followed several months later. The penny black was placed on sale on May 1, 1840 for use from May 6th. There are known covers dated before May 6th, including examples posted early. These are extraordinary pieces of postal history because they document the transition into an entirely new postal system. The concept was elegantly simple. A customer purchased a stamp for 1 penny, attached it to a letter weighing up to half an ounce, and placed the letter into the postal system. The stamp showed that the basic postage had been prepaid. For heavier letters, additional postage was required. A blue 2-penny stamp, the 2-penny blue, was introduced alongside the penny black for the higher rate. The reform did not merely create a famous collectible. It helped make written communication more accessible to a much wider section of society. A tiny printed portrait had become evidence that a service had already been purchased. That idea would soon travel around the world. The penny black did not emerge in isolation. It appeared during a period of enormous social, economic, and technological change. Britain was industrializing, cities were expanding, railway networks were developing, businesses needed faster communication, families were becoming separated by work, migration, and military service. Literacy was also growing, increasing the number of people who could use written correspondence. The postal system connected families, merchants, banks, newspapers, government departments, and communities. A more affordable postal rate could therefore influence far more than personal letter writing. It could support commerce. It could help businesses issue orders and invoices. It could allow families to exchange news. It could carry legal documents, job opportunities, requests for assistance, and declarations of love. The penny black was both a practical payment device and a symbol of a changing society. Its introduction also created an ecosystem that collectors still study today. That ecosystem includes stamp designers, engravers, printers, postal employees, postmasters, letter writers, and recipients. Today, it also includes philatelists, auction houses, specialist dealers, museums, expert committees, conservators, researchers, and digital collecting communities. A penny black can be studied as a stamp, but it can also be examined as part of an entire postal artifact. A collector may ask, is the stamp still attached to its original cover? Who sent the letter? Where was it posted? What route did it travel? Which cancellation was applied? Did it arrive during an important historical event? What does the letter inside reveal? These questions demonstrate the difference between collecting an object and studying its complete context. A detached penny black is a historic stamp. A penny black on an original cover can become a documented journey through Victorian Britain. The world surrounding the stamp is therefore as important as the stamp itself. It connects postal history, printing, design, economics, social history, and the personal lives of people who lived more than 180 years ago. At its core, the penny black is a one-penny adhesive postage stamp issued by Great Britain in 1840. But its small design contains a surprising amount of information. Let us examine it from top to bottom. The portrait. At the center is the profile of Queen Victoria facing left. The image was based on a portrait created when Victoria was still a young princess. The original work came from a medal designed by William Wyon. By the time the stamp was issued, Victoria had been queen for almost 3 years. The portrait communicates authority, authenticity, and national identity. It also established a royal design tradition that continued across generations of British stamps. The inscriptions? Across the top are the words postage and 1 penny. Postage identifies the service being purchased. 1 penny states the amount paid. One feature is conspicuously missing: the name of the issuing country. Modern postage stamps generally include a country name. British stamps traditionally do not need to because Great Britain created the first adhesive postage stamp of this kind. The monarch's portrait serves as the national identifier. The background. Behind the portrait is an intricately engraved background. The design was not intended only to look attractive. Fine engraved details made the stamp more difficult to imitate using the printing methods available at the time. Counterfeiting was a serious concern. A postage stamp represented monetary value, so it needed to be recognizable and reasonably secure. The corner letters. At the bottom are 2 letters. These are not random initials, secret grading codes, or the owner's monogram. They identify the stamp's original position on the printed sheet. A complete sheet contained 240 stamps, arranged in 20 horizontal rows of 12. The left letter identified the row from A through T. The right letter identified the column from A through L. The first stamp in the upper left corner was therefore lettered AA. The final stamp in the lower right corner was TL. These corner letters help discourage the reuse or reconstruction of stamps and now provide collectors with useful identification information. They allow specialists to study how individual positions differed because of plate wear, re-entry, repair, or minor engraving characteristics. The printing plates. The penny black was printed by Perkins, Bacon, and Petch using engraved plates. 11 numbered plates were used, although specialists distinguish 2 states of Plate 1, commonly known as Plate 1A and Plate 1B, because the plate was repaired and re-entered. A collector may attempt to identify the printing plate by examining tiny design characteristics. These can include the position and shape of the corner letters, fine lines in the background, small marks or scratches, variations in the check letter squares, signs of plate wear or repair, the alignment of specific engraved elements. Plating a penny black is a specialist activity. It usually requires high-resolution images, reliable reference material, and experience comparing known plate positions. Guessing from a single blurry photograph is not dependable authentication. No perforations. Penny blacks were issued without perforations. The stamps had to be separated from the sheet using scissors. This is why the margins are so important to collectors. The engraved designs were positioned close together. Postal clerks separating the stamps could easily cut into the printed frame of one stamp while trying to preserve the next. An example showing 4 clear margins is therefore particularly desirable. However, margins are only one part of condition. A stamp may have wide margins but still suffer from thinning, creasing, fading, repair, or other damage. Gum. Unused examples were originally supplied with gum on the reverse so they could be moistened and attached to a letter. Original gum can be important when evaluating an unused stamp, but it must be assessed carefully. Gum may have been disturbed, redistributed, or replaced. Hinges may have left marks. Repairs can be concealed beneath altered gum. Collectors should never assume that shiny or complete-looking gum is automatically original. Cancellation. Once the stamp entered the postal system, it had to be canceled so that it could not be reused. The best-known early cancellation is the Maltese Cross. Many penny blacks were canceled in red ink, creating one of philately's most recognizable combinations, a red Maltese Cross over a black stamp. Different offices and periods produced variations in the appearance of these cancellations. The effectiveness of the cancellation soon became a problem. Red ink could be difficult to see against certain parts of the black design, and attempts could be made to remove it. The solution was to reverse the contrast. The black stamp was replaced by the red-brown penny red, and black cancellation ink became standard. That change made the cancellation easier to see and helped make fraudulent reuse more difficult. The penny black's short life was therefore not evidence of failure. It was evidence that the new system was learning and improving. Understanding the history is important, but what does collecting a penny black look like in practice? Imagine a collector named Emma. She has collected British stamps for several years and now wants to acquire her first penny black. She finds 3 examples. The first appears inexpensive, but the photograph is dark and heavily compressed. The second has 4 visible margins and a clear red cancellation, but it is more expensive. The third is advertised as an extremely rare unused example with original gum, yet the seller provides no certificate, no reverse image, and no ownership history. How should Emma decide? The first step is not asking which stamp is cheapest. The first step is understanding exactly what is being offered. Step 1. Examine the front. Emma should the margins, the strength and clarity of the impression, the overall color, the corner letters, the cancellation, creases, tears, or surface damage, areas that appear repainted or retouched. A strong scan under neutral lighting is more useful than a filtered photograph. Step 2. Examine the reverse. The reverse may reveal problems that are difficult to see from the front. These can include paper thinning, hinge remnants, creases, tears, added paper, repairs, staining, disturbed or questionable gum. A seller who refuses to provide a clear image of the back should be treated cautiously. Step 3. Understand the cancellation. A cancellation can affect both desirability and value. Collectors may prefer an identifiable Maltese Cross that does not completely obscure the portrait. However, a weak or unusual-looking cancellation requires careful examination. Postal markings can be altered or added to make an item appear more desirable. The date and location may become especially significant when the stamp remains on its original cover. Step 4. Consider expert certification. For a high-value or unusually described penny black, a certificate from a respected philatelic expertising organization can provide important evidence. A certificate is not a magical guarantee that an object can never be questioned again. Expert opinions may change as research and technology improve. Nevertheless, certification can substantially reduce uncertainty, especially when claims involve original gum, rare plates, unusual cancellations, early dates, or significant repairs. Step 5. Research the seller and ownership history. Emma should examine the seller's reputation, return policies, previous auction appearances, existing certificates, invoices and receipts, published references, ownership history when available. Provenance does not automatically prove authenticity, but a documented chain of ownership can strengthen confidence and add historical interest. Step 6. Compare like with like. A used penny black with cut margins should not be compared directly with an unused 4-margin example. Emma should compare stamps with similar characteristics, used versus unused, on cover versus removed from cover, plate and position, margin quality, cancellation, faults and repairs, certification, overall visual appeal. Online asking prices are not the same as completed sale prices. The most useful market evidence usually comes from documented sales of genuinely comparable examples. Preservation. Once acquired, the penny black should be handled and stored carefully. The collector should use clean stamp tongues rather than touching the stamp directly with fingers. The stamp should be stored in an archival quality mount, stock book, or album system made from chemically stable materials. It should be protected from direct sunlight, excessive heat, high humidity, rapid environmental changes, pressure, adhesives, poor quality plastic, repeated unnecessary handling. A collector should not wash, flatten, erase, bleach, or attempt to improve a penny black without appropriate conservation expertise. A poorly executed attempt at cleaning can remove evidence, damage the paper, or permanently reduce the stamp's historical and financial value. Success is not measured only by acquiring the least expensive example. It is measured by buying an item you understand, documenting it properly, and preserving it responsibly. Despite its importance, the penny black is surrounded by myths. Myth 1. Every penny black is incredibly rare. The penny black is historically important, but importance and rarity are not the same thing. Millions were printed and many used examples have survived. Condition, margins, plate, cancellation, usage, date, cover, and provenance can create enormous differences between individual examples. An ordinary damaged example and an exceptional unused example are not equivalent simply because both are penny blacks. Myth 2. The penny black was the first stamp of any kind. The wording requires precision. Labels, revenue stamps, postal markings, and other forms of proof of payment existed before 1840. The penny black is recognized as the world's first adhesive postage stamp, introduced for use in a public postal system. That distinction matters. Myth 3. The black color was chosen because it looked prestigious. The black design was visually powerful, but printing and security considerations were also important. The key problem was not that black looked unattractive. The problem was the relationship between the stamp and its cancellation. The red cancellation could be difficult to see and potentially vulnerable to removal. This contributed to the change to a red-brown stamp used with black cancellation ink. Myth 4. A stamp with no cancellation must be unused. Not necessarily. A cancellation can be faint, removed, or hidden. A stamp may also have been removed from postal stationery or altered. The reverse, paper, gum, and surface must all be examined. No visible cancellation is not automatically the same as genuine unused condition. Myth 5. Wider margins always mean a more valuable stamp. 4 clear margins are desirable, but value depends on the entire item. A wide margin example with a serious thin tear or repair may be less desirable than a more modestly margined example in sound condition. Collectors assess the complete object, not one isolated feature. Myth 6. Any red Maltese Cross makes the stamp more valuable. A genuine, clear, and attractive cancellation may increase desirability, but not every red marking is rare or valuable. The shape, ink placement, office of use, and authenticity all matter. An altered or fabricated cancellation can reduce value dramatically. Myth 7. The letters identify the owner or post office. The 2 corner letters identify the stamp's location within the original sheet. They are positional check letters, not personal initials. Myth 8. Restoration always improves a valuable stamp. Restoration can make an item appear better while reducing its historical integrity. Repairs, added margins, reperforation, although the penny black itself was imperforate, repainting, regumming, and cancellation enhancement must be disclosed. Conservation aims to stabilize an object. Undisclosed alteration attempts to change how the market perceives it. Those are not the same thing. Fact or fiction challenge. Because millions of penny blacks were printed, no individual penny black can be considered genuinely rare. Fact or fiction? Pause the video and tell us what you think in the comments. The answer is fiction. The basic stamp may be obtainable, but particular plate positions, states, usages, cancellations, covers, early dates, and exceptional unused examples can be extremely scarce. In collecting, the category may be common, while a specific combination of characteristics is rare. That principle applies far beyond stamps. The penny black is easier to understand when compared with the stamps around it. Penny black versus two penny blue. Both were introduced in 1840 as part of Britain's postal reforms. The penny black paid the basic 1 penny rate for a letter within the applicable half-ounce weight limit. The 2 penny blue served the higher 2 penny rate, including letters exceeding that initial weight threshold within the next applicable band. Their colors and denominations made the two services visually distinguishable. Penny black versus penny red. The penny red was not a completely unrelated invention. It was the practical successor to the penny black. Both carried the familiar profile of Queen Victoria and represented 1 penny in postage. The major visual difference was color. The penny red allowed black cancellation ink to be seen more clearly, addressing one of the weaknesses of the earlier black design with red cancellation. The penny red continued, with changes far longer than the penny black, and became one of Britain's most widely used classic stamps. Loose stamp versus stamp on cover. A loose penny black allows a collector to study the printed stamp closely. A penny black on its original cover preserves additional evidence: the date of use, the sending office, the destination, postal routes, additional postal markings, the relationship between the stamp and the letter. A cover may be more historically informative, but it also requires more storage space and specialist knowledge. Neither approach is universally better. The best choice depends on whether the collector is primarily interested in stamp design, printing plates, cancellations, postal routes, social history, or complete correspondence. Used versus unused. Used examples show that the stamp fulfilled its intended purpose. They may carry attractive or historically important cancellations. Unused examples preserve a different part of the story, a stamp that was purchased or retained but never passed through the mail. Unused examples are generally much scarcer, especially when they retain credible original gum and remain in strong condition. However, unused should never be accepted solely because an online listing says so. Collecting an original versus collecting reproductions. Not every collector needs to begin with an original penny black. High-quality reproductions, reference books, digital scans, and museum resources can be valuable educational tools. They allow new collectors to study the design before making an expensive purchase. The crucial rule is transparency. A reproduction should always be clearly identified as a reproduction. It must never be offered in a way that could confuse a future owner. The best collecting decision is not always the most expensive one. It is the decision that matches the collector's knowledge, interests, budget, and acceptable level of risk. The penny black belongs to the Victorian era, but its fundamental idea remains everywhere. Today, postage may be represented by stamps, printed labels, barcodes, QR-style codes, and digital payment records. Postal systems use automated sorting equipment, optical recognition, tracking databases, and increasingly sophisticated security features. Yet the essential function remains familiar: demonstrate that the sender has paid for a delivery service. Technology is also changing how collectors study classic stamps. High-resolution imaging can reveal plate characteristics, repairs, and surface alterations. Digital databases can help researchers compare examples from the same plate and sheet position. Online archives can reconnect a cover with historical records about its sender, recipient, or destination. Artificial intelligence may eventually become increasingly useful for suggesting possible plate positions, identifying cancellation patterns, comparing auction records, detecting visual inconsistencies, organizing digital collections, translating old correspondence, connecting objects with historical events. But technology must be used responsibly. An AI identification should be treated as a research aid, not unquestionable proof of authenticity. Poor images, incomplete training data, and convincing alterations can produce incorrect conclusions. Human expertise, physical examination, provenance, and specialist certification will remain important. Digital marketplaces also create opportunities and risks. Collectors can now discover material from sellers around the world, but misleading descriptions and manipulated images can travel just as easily. Future collectors will need both historical knowledge and digital judgment. The penny black also reminds us that innovation does not need to be large to be transformative. It was a tiny piece of printed paper, but it simplified an entire transaction. It made prepayment visible, it helped communication move more freely, and it established a design concept that was adopted around the world. The technology surrounding postage will continue to change. The fundamental purpose remains the same, allowing people to communicate across distance. Today we discovered how the penny black became the world's first adhesive postage stamp, introduced for use in a public postal system. We explored the postal problems that led Sir Rowland Hill and other reformers to advocate a simpler, prepaid postal system. We examined the stamp's portrait of Queen Victoria, its engraved design, its positional corner letters, and the printing plates used to produce it. We learned why margins, cancellations, condition, gum, plate identification, provenance, and postal history can create dramatic differences between two apparently similar examples. We also challenged one of the biggest misconceptions in stamp collecting. The penny black is famous, but not every example is equally rare or equally valuable. Most importantly, the penny black proves that a collectible can be much more than an old object. It can document an innovation. It can preserve a journey. It can connect us with the people who created, used, and saved it. And it can tell the story of a moment when the world changed. Now we want to hear from you. If you could add one penny black to your collection, would you choose a beautifully preserved unused stamp, a clearly canceled used example, or a stamp still attached to its original 1840 cover? Tell us your choice and why in the comments. In the next episode of the My Premium Collection Get to Know series, we will continue uncovering the history, mysteries, and collecting secrets behind the world's most fascinating objects. If you enjoyed this episode, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications so you never miss a collector story. You can continue discovering, documenting, and sharing your collection at mypremiumcollection.com, the global community built for collectors. Explore collectibles. Connect with other enthusiasts. Preserve the stories behind the objects you own. Thank you for watching My Premium Collection, part of the MP Nerds ecosystem.